It's been a year since I got the Shirley 24x36 patio smoker, and during this past year I've cooked numerous briskets, pork butts, and ribs. At this point I have a pretty good feel for the smoker, and I thought I would share some thoughts on it for those of you that are considering it. I'll talk about just the general size of the smoker for those of you who are wondering if it will fit on your own patio. I'll talk about the capacity so you can decide if it will fit your barbecue needs. Some of us are backyard cooks, some of us are competition, some of us dream about doing something bigger than that. I'll talk about the Firebox and how it burns and what I like about the design. And then finally I thought I would wrap up with some conclusions. There are other channels that go into much more depth on this smoker. My favorite has been Fam Eats. So please go lend them some support, go watch the videos, give them a thumbs up, maybe even subscribe. And now let's get to our own review of the smoker on my porch. Let's take a look at the overall length of the Shirley. So I'm actually going to be measuring it from the very tip of the handle, because you'd need to be able to account for that, all the way over to the tip of this handle at 70 inches. So you need to be prepared for 70 inches of length on this smoker. If we count the door swing from right here all the way out to the tip, because you need to account for that in your spacing, you end up with an additional 19.5 inches, 7.5 feet that you're accounting for in your patio space from that end, from the bottom all the way to the top. I'd say 70 inches on the top as well. Now, first and foremost, this is not the stainless shelf that you'll get from Shirley Fabrication. This is a homemade shelf that I did myself. So when you do receive this cooker or you're cooking on the smoker, you are going to want to have something there to cover the grating on the shelf. When you pull this out, so you got a brisket on it, you got a pork butt on it, all of this is going to drip down here. The length of the shelf is 36 inches. Now, one thing that I love about the smoker is the clearance from the shelf up to the cook chamber door. Full pan absolutely will fit in between the two, which is nice because you don't have to move your food around when you're trying to open the door to access it for a cook. Very different than, say, my traditional pipe smoker, which you can see, like, this is where the shelf is on that. I got maybe 2 inches of room, so my clearance here is very, very tight. You end up having to push food out, kind of balancing it. So the patio cooker here with the Shirley Fabrication is much more convenient. Here's your baffle plate on the bottom. There's your exhaust. Now, one thing to keep in mind is when you're doing capacity, you're really doing from here to here, or this rail. So you don't have the full capacity that you're seeing here. You basically lose right at maybe 9 inches. But that's okay. This is where the air's circulating up. That's no different. You know, my pipe smoker, where you don't get to use the first 10 to 12 inches. Still, back to capacity. You can see from basically bottom to top right at 21 inches. So once you get to the middle, you're probably right at 24 inches, just like they say it is. Cannot beat the capacity on this. I easily can cook 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 briskets on the first 2 shelves. Compare that to a pipe smoker that I got. I can't use this part because it gets too hot, even with the tuning plates. So I could probably do 1, 2, 3, 4. This would run too hot. Now that's the microwave. You're not going to put a brisket up there. That's for your chicken and your other stuff you want to cook hot. So 4 altogether, and this is a 20 by 40. And when you're talking about ribs, you can get a truckload of ribs. I don't think I would ever have an occasion where I would be able to put enough ribs in to actually match the capacity. I'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, at least 5 on the next shelf. So I'm already up to 10 racks of ribs. You can actually cook them on your microwave on the top or your top shelf, and you just rotate them off. This shelf is a little bit more narrow than the other two, so but you're still going to be able to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, I got 15 racks of ribs being cooked in this smoker. More than enough space for the average backyard cook. All right, let's take a look at this Firebox. So first and foremost, plenty of room for what you need to run this cooker. I've never run or needed splits that went the length of the fire grate. Typically the splits that I would use are much smaller. Once you get a good coal bed on this smoker is so efficient that it really does not take much. Fire basket. So many things that I like about it. One, it's got heat shields on the side that kind of help protect the paint on your Firebox. It's got a double grate on the bottom so you don't burn through. Here's the thing about the double grate though. The holes are small because of the double layer, so if you're just waiting for the charcoal to actually just fall through on its own, you'll end up kind of choking the fire as the ash builds up. So as I'm cooking and adjusting the fire, I'll just run this like this. That'll push all the ash through the grate and down to the ash pan. And then, you know, my fire's burning clean. Super heavy. You're not going to burn through this. Don't forget, you've also got a sacrificial plate up top. All right, let's take a look at another feature that I really enjoy about the Shirley. And that's the ash pan. All right, it's 1/4-inch steel. It's basically the bottom of the Firebox that you can take out. And I'm not joking. It is so heavy. It's a 2-handed lift. You're not lifting this out with one hand. It goes the length of the Firebox. And, I mean, if you look at that, look at the... I mean, you're not going to burn through that. Comes included with the smoker. Let's talk about maintenance on the top of the Firebox. So I've had to repaint this a couple times just because my own fault. So when I first got the cooker, I was so used to doing what I did with my offset where I would just lay wood pieces on the top. What I discovered is wood pieces over time, as you heat them up and you move them around and scrape them around, it just screws up the paint finish. So that got me thinking of another option, which was this piece of stainless that I picked up. It was like scrap from a restaurant. So now I'll lay this out when I'm cooking and I'll put the wood on top of it. But that way, as I'm moving wood around, it doesn't scratch the surface of the Firebox. The paint on this is readily available. It's not some special paint that you gotta buy. It's like the high heat 1200. There's like a glossy one. This is the non-glossy one. $10 at a hardware store, and I'm spraying it, and it looks as good as new. Wheels, you'll want to watch them. Make sure that you're keeping air pressure in them. I'll actually roll the smoker around every now and then just to kind of try and rotate the wheels around so it doesn't settle into like a flat spot. The wheels are very robust, super easy to move this on grass, which I'm very grateful for. Plenty of oxygen with these dampers. Whenever I'm cooking, I'm probably normally I'm probably somewhere like that. And with the stack wide open, because of the radiant heat that you have on the bottom and then the convection of the air working its way through the smoker and the cook chamber, you have a very, very efficient smoker here. You just have a lot of heat retention that makes cooking on this smoker exceptionally easy. The difference between this smoker and big box offset smoker with 12 gauge steel, it's night and day difference. It's been a year since I've owned the smoker. Got it last November. Probably one of the best purchases I've ever made. Can't be more pleased with it. If you look at my prior videos, you'll see that I had a whole patio full of smokers. And you'll notice what's left. I've got a Shirley, then I got a Texas offset that I've so heavily modified that it just hurts my heart to get rid of it. Let's talk about the quality of the smoker overall. All of us, if we're looking at a Shirley, you already know that it's famous for the quality of its welds. High fit and finish on this. Dollar for dollar, what you're getting here, you can't beat it. I mean, you can't. So after a year of working this cooker, I would say hands down, this is probably one of the best smokers being produced in the market today. And if you're talking about a smoker that's under $4,000, I do not know of another one that's even close to it.